Good evening. Welcome to Truth and Transparency, Sunset Secrets, little history of Aliquippa, little history of Pittsburgh. Who really runs Aliquippa, Pennsylvania? Again, live chat will be featured. Muffy, how you doing tonight? All of this has absolutely everything to do with unsolved homicides all throughout the Pittsburgh area, which would include Aliquippa. Aliquippa suffered a shooting late last night, early morning, in Plan 12. Again, yes, in Aliquippa last night, Beaver County, there was a shooting. One dead. Right around the Plan 12 area. Prayers going out to the families involved. So not only recently there some drug overdoses, but again last night there was a shooting in Aliquippa. Again, hello to everybody in chat. Thank you for being here on this chill Monday night. I'm going to talk about some history of Aliquippa. Talk about the mafia. Talk about law enforcement. Talk about confidential informants. Talk about a lot of things. And all of it having to do something with, obviously, Rachel Tondo and Sheldon Jeter Jr., Tyreek Pugh, James Nime, Jamie Brown. Who really runs Aliquippa, Pennsylvania? Again, we're going to get started here in just a minute. Hello to Ellen, Muffy, all those lurkers. I want to talk to you guys about I'm not going to take us back that far to begin with, but we're going to talk about January 25th, 2007, Thursday. The son of late Wheeling, West Virginia gangster pleaded guilty in federal court Wednesday for his role in a major gambling ring. Christopher Paul Hankish, 44, of Scott, was charged in November with conspiring for his connection to a multi-million-dollar bookmaking operation headed by former video poker kingpin John Duffy Conley. State police and the state attorney general's office began looking into gambling activities involving Conley, formerly of the South Side, in February of 2005. Wiretapes on several of Conley's cell phones last fall revealed a widespread gambling ring. An investigator with the Attorney General's office testified last year in federal court that Conley's gambling operation involved a number of people associated with organized crime. He specifically named Hankish as one of those people. His father, Paul No Legs, was a West Virginia mobster whose legs were blown off in a car bomb assassination attempt. The elder Hankish was tied to the Pittsburgh mob, and he dominated gambling and wheeling in Fayette County, according to the now defunct Pennsylvania Crime Commission. I'm going to stop there with the Pennsylvania Crime Commission. You know who else's names come up when you want to talk about gambling rings? And those names would be Frank Catroppa Sr., or I'm sorry, Joe Catroppa Sr., and Frank Eunice Jr. Those are good old household names in Aliquippa. Are you guys aware that Sheldon Jeter Jr.'s family member, Snooki, was shot, allegedly, by Frank Eunice Jr., but after the trial, found not guilty. Do you guys know that Frank Catroppa's dad, Joseph Catroppa Sr., was tipping off, he's a police officer, and according to the Pennsylvania Crime Commission, he was the one tipping off Frank Eunice Jr. as they were all running a huge gambling ring. Does anybody talk about that on mainstream media? Does anybody talk about the family connects, what they do for a living, how they make their money? Well, continuing on. No Legs died in federal prison in 1998 while serving 33 and a half years for racketeering, gambling, cocaine distribution, and income tax evasion. Chris Hankish was a co-defendant in a 1990 federal case against Chucky Porter and Louis Orsaki Sr., a trial that effectively ended organized crime in Pittsburgh. The younger Hankish, he pled guilty to cocaine and conspiring to distribute charges in 1991 and was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison. The latest investigation revealed that Conley handled more than $3 million in bets over 28 days in November and December in 2005. Conley returned to prison in May for violating the conditions of his parole by again involving himself with illegal gambling. He has not been charged in the ongoing gambling case. The case that I'm speaking of is one that was in 2000 and... Well, the investigation began in 2005, but 2007. Now, this 44-year-old, the son of No Legs, again, West Virginia is right there on the border, literally right there on the border, ties to Youngstown, the Pittsburgh mafia families, and again, drugs would be cocaine and gambling. After he served his 2 years. No Leg's son. He gets out of prison and he is found dead. So then was it 2009? He was given a hot shot. They want to call it a drug overdose. But in fact, was it a drug overdose? Or was he given a hot shot? You guys know what a hot shot is? They dope you up nice and good, and then you purposely die. Again, right after getting out. Now, the reason this is interesting to me is the names that are involved had ties to Aliquippa. And those names would be the Eunice family had ties with Paul Hankish, Joey Naples, did you guys know that the last made man in Pittsburgh died not until just this past year in 2021? July 8th was the last, there was a death. And the last made man in Pittsburgh with the crime families, Sonny, he died July 8th, 2021. And who's running shit now? You know, back when the mob was around, there was actually rules. And the rules were that kids are off limits. You're not dealing to kids. Women, people's moms, you know, grandmas, women. You had territories. There were rules, though. So the mob, in a sense, was like, you know, it's your organized crime, but they're also keeping a handle on the community. They're not letting their quote-unquote people harm the community. You're not raping people. You're not killing innocent people. You may be killing yourselves in the game. But again, big word is there's rules. You know what the problem today is? Just like, you know how the cops have rules? Cops have rules, like, just like lawyers have rules. They take their oath. It's like rules, you know? So like the mob, the mafia, they had rules within their family, within the different families. And Pittsburgh, you know, is divided up north and south, East End. But you know what I thought was always interesting is that when they legalized gambling so that you could have gambling in, like, you know, Ohio and these other states, I always wondered if, you know, bookkeeping, running numbers would take a hit or not. Because casinos actually in Pennsylvania, there's a sports book at Meadows. But you know what the difference is between going to the casino and dealing with like a bookie and like a loan shark? Is that you can place bets, you know, through a bookie and not have the money up front. when you go to a casino and you want to place a bet, you go up to the window and here are $50 on Dallas. You have to have the money to make the bet. But with a bookie, even like the online stuff that you could go through, there was still like a bookie behind it. As they got advanced, they would just be like, here, you can go on this, this website, but you're still just placing your bets there, but it's still like a bookie style. It's not like the money's coming out of your account or anything like that. There's a credit. But the difference with a casino compared to a bookie is you can call them up on Saturday, make a bunch of bets for, college football, and, then you got to pay up by, that next week, Tuesday after Monday Night Football, whatever the rules may be with whoever you book through. And then there's like the juice, which is, the 10%. So if you bet 50 and you lose, you didn't just lose 50, you lost 55. Depends if you bet the over and under, then you lost 60. Because sometimes it'd be 10%, sometimes it's 20%. Anyways, at the end of the day, that's how a lot of these guys started owing a lot of people money when they would lose. Because obviously they're gambling with money that they don't have. And then how do you make it up? Well, here, I'll just start selling some drugs for you. Things like that. Well, do you guys think it's at all ironic that Frank Catroppa just started an online gambling? I call it a thingamajig. Because I remember back a couple of my friends from high school, they got trendy with the times, and you could make your bets online through them, through like this website that they would create. But you're still like meeting up to do payouts and stuff like that because, you're definitely not going to be running all this money through something, right? Because I always asked, how did Frank Catroppa make all his money? His dad was a cop. Do cops make really good money? No. Well, unless you're doing something else, which then, that's interesting. They were involved in that big raid. They were placing crazy bets, making like $500,000 a week. Let me rephrase that. They were running $500,000 worth of bets, I believe. Exactly, Kimmy2470. There's a corner place by me that runs bets with all these bookies. Absolutely. So if the big thing in Pittsburgh was, and still is, gambling and drugs, it's obviously still going on, but who's basically running this stuff? You just decide one day, like, hey, I think I'm just going to up and start, a gambling site. You know what I mean? Just like a hairdresser. If they want to become a hairdresser, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to rent a spot at Salon Lofts and I'm going to start cutting hair, when I get out of school from my cosmetology program. Well, just because you open and start anything, where are you getting your clients from? What if you say one day, you know what, okay, I gotta make a bunch of money. I'm just gonna go sell drugs. And I'm just gonna, it's a big risk, but hey, I gotta make a bunch of money. I'm in hot water, whatever. Well, just because you want to go do something you always need clientele for what you're going to go do. Again, cutting hair, who's going to come to your place? Do you know people? How are you going to, what do you have, a business card? You go around places, oh, hey, I cut hair, like, word of mouth. So how do these guys that are younger, someone like Frank Catroppa, just because you up and start a gambling site doesn't mean that you're going to make a bunch of money. You have to have clientele. And the way that gambling works, if you're a good bookie, is you want to have a balanced book. You want to have, let's say you have 100 clients. Let's say you have 100 bets that come in on. The way that you even out your book is if you have $100,000 on Dallas, you want $100,000 on the Giants. Because guess what you make? All those losers that bet to total the $100,000 on those cowgirls, okay, you're getting 10% of that, no matter what. So your book's even. So the money that's coming in is going out. You're making your money off of the juice. That's how a bookie, if you're a good bookie, makes money. Yes, gambling has been big in Beaver County. Corruption has been big in Beaver County. Pull is big in Beaver County. Names, family names are big in Beaver County. So, when I see and I read the paper and I see something like 23-year-old gets busted with $280,000 in cash at a motel out in Coriopolis, which is outside of Aliquippa, in that area. And I'm thinking, okay, 23 years old. I mean, that's not that old. This kid has to be working for somebody, right? Because what I can't put my finger on is we all see how police interrogations go. Why wouldn't somebody in that situation, if a big head honcho goes in there like the FBI and says, hey, you're 23 years old. I mean, what, you just got out of high school, a couple years ago? What were you doing after that? You think that they're the man? How would they be the man? How is a 23-year-old the man? Like, when I say like the man, he oversees this whole operation, which would be getting the drugs in from, let's say, like Arizona, New York, Philly, wherever. Normally the big dude, the main guy, isn't usually the one that gets popped with all the money, unless they were picking the money up from a drop spot where the money was put by somebody else, and they go and they pick it up maybe an hour later, maybe a day later. Lessons with Lana. Yep, teach you guys all how to do it. But one of my sources I was talking with, back in the day, not that long ago. That, you know, Frank made a bunch of his money with this whole online gambling. And, well, you're going to have somebody set up that website that's really good with computers. You're going to have somebody, then you have to have a host to source, all this stuff, right? And then what do you do with all the money? Are you really running it through, like, they can just, pay online? No, probably not. Where do you get all these clients? How do you just walk into a business and you just inherit, like, all these clients? Because remember back with the mafia, the dad ran the show and then he passes it off to his son. He runs the show and then he passes it off to his son, so it stays within the family. And it's like, usually you'll have a couple kids and then one of the kids out of it's going to run it. You got your other kids that are doing whatever. And then you get the one that's not running it, probably is a fuck up, and they're doing the drugs, and you always got to try to keep them out of trouble. Stuff like that. But it's like, if you look at like a place like Aliquippa, and it's 9,000 people. I mean, and then you look at it, it's the demographics, women, men, children, that all gets broken up. And it breaks up to black and white. So really, what is your pool in Aliquippa to possibly sell to? I mean, you're just going to dope up your whole town. You're going to have your whole town. Everyone's just gambling crazy. And then what are these people doing for work? These people that are the gamblers and the people that are doing drugs, they're out there being productive in life. I never met a business until you talk about drugs. Who would ever be in a business where you kill your clientele? Right, if you're cutting it with fentanyl. Why would you cut your coke and your heroin with fentanyl? Do you think the main guy's doing that, or do you think the guys that are running for you are doing it? Just like when cocaine would be cut with stupid shit. You're making it more product so that who makes the money? Not the main person. You're trying to make more money as a middleman. That's where the fentanyl, that's where the extra cut's coming in. It's coming in after the product goes out. Correct. I was just going to get to that. They don't just target Aliquippa. It's all Beaver County. Yes. There it is. Ding, ding, ding. Hence the bust there that just happened. And I can pull it on up for you guys. But the bust in Coriopolis. That is not that far from Aliquippa, but Coraopolis is a beautiful area. I scratch my head, though. I'm thinking to myself, why aren't you just doing what you need to do in Aliquippa? Because they don't seem to give a shit. They're all looking the other way. Back in the day, the police officers would just get paid off to look the other way, so they'd get their cut. Just like what happened with the whole Jimmy Nime thing, back in that time. Which was right around the time that I'm talking about, 2000 to now, so past 22 years. Police officers are just getting their cut. So why not keep doing your dealings in Aliquippa? Why would you be caught out in Coraopolis with $280,000 in cash? And now, how do you think that all went down? How do you think drug busts happen? How do drug busts happen? Because for the life of me, what I don't understand is, if supposedly all this corruption's going on, and all these drugs are going on, and gambling and all this stuff's going on in Beaver County, and it's been going on for years, just like the Pittsburgh Mafia. The reason the whole mob and the families were getting destroyed and everything like that in the 80s and 90s and stuff was because people started ratting each other out. Rat. They started rolling on each other. Well, how does Allegheny County, Beaver County, Allegheny County, I don't see much rolling going on. So for example, this 23-year-old, if he's not the main guy and the FBI come to you and they say, hey, we want the main guy, you give us the main guy, we'll give you, you're going to testify and we're going to give you immunity. Because you're supposed to be taking down operations, right? Why do you want the guy that's just a middleman or even just a pickup? What do they say? The flunky? There you go. Right there. You got your CIs. Yeah, that's exactly what you got. That's exactly what you got. So how come then, if you have these CIs, and I know they exist there, how come nothing came from the raid of timesheets and people getting overpaid at the police department or at the city building? people are killing people, unsolved homicides out the yin yang, and they're raiding these, government buildings in Aliquippa. But, like, what happened? What was the outcome of that? What happened? Does anybody know? Let me tell you. Fucking nothing. Nothing happened. So, was that like a distraction? You know, all that big talks about like the mayor's office, the police chief's, I mean, all this stuff going on in Aliquippa with these raids about over like, taxpayers' money basically, because it's, that's where the money comes to pay these positions. But what happened? What happened? The mayor's still the mayor of Aliquippa. The DA is still the DA. Any police officers lose their jobs? Oh, yep, one of them. One police officer did. I think there was only one police officer that lost his job. Well, so what was the point? Okay, let me get this straight. I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. You're working up some concoction, okay? Matt Motz, Joe Percival, given all this information about officers, this overtime, these time cards, then this stuff that's supposed to probably be getting fixed and that's not. But meanwhile, people are getting murdered. Evidence is missing out of the evidence locker. I mean, nothing's happening. Like, I think anybody that's Italian there, summer, knows that the San Rocco Festival is in August. That's a huge thing in Aliquippa, that San Rocco event. You know what? I have firsthand knowledge of a rape that was covered up in Aliquippa. Yeah. Yeah. Those are the summer of 2016 or 2017. I don't have my notes out for that one. And there's officers' names involved that know about this, that are still in the police force to this day. It's going to come out here soon. But yeah, a lot of crazy shit going on. A lot of cash money going around during those festivals. I love those festivals, though. Little Italy in Cleveland has a big one in Little Italy section of Cleveland, Murray Hill. One of our judges in town was sentencing people with a nice bracelet around their ankle. Wow. That's insane. So we just, I mean, why isn't anybody doing anything in Beaver County? Why isn't mainstream media, like, talking about any of this? Yes. Yes, and actually, in fact, this person was then accused of filing a false report and charged. Yeah, what year was it that it moved to center? What year was that? If you can remember. I would feel the same way if I lived there. If it was moved, it definitely wouldn't be the same. So, like, if I wanted to start up a gambling site, guys, would you guys all become, like, members? Like, of the site? Like, how do I go about, like, or do I have to inherit these members? How do I go about that? I mean, why didn't the Beaver Canyon cover JoJo's suspicious death? That was just 1 month after Sheldon's sentencing. Why isn't anybody covering the anything? Why isn't anybody covering anything? There's a lot to talk about there. No, I give my gambling money to the Catroppa. Definitely not the same. Media is essentially the government in today's world / news. Well, I mean, also the FBI is your organized crime now. But I guess I don't get it. Here's Joe that hands over all this stuff. Cop beatings, cops, having reports on other cops that are beating people up. Giving this to the district attorney, Lozier. Just like, here's all this evidence. Is the police officer bringing it to you? Is the police officer bringing you all this stuff on, the mayor? And I don't recall John Paul writing about any police beatings. Any of this evidence, I mean, give it to the media. How about Aliquippa get some body cams? How about Beaver County get body cams? I mean, you got all this, alleged police corruption. I mean, how come Beaver County doesn't, have body cams? How come everything in Beaver County gets started but not finished? How does everything just go away? How does the district attorney hit reply all and send me an email? Meanwhile, somebody just shot somebody in the face up on Plan 12 last night, but y'all are sitting here watching me on YouTube. talk about all the shit that's going on. What about Savante Gilliam's murder? He won Purple Hearts. He was Aliquippa quarterback. How is there no articles, no coverage? John Paul, do you even know who Savante Gilliam is? How do you not have any articles about this black man that was murdered just like how Pugh was? Where is the outrage? Where's the community outrage? Yeah, Beaver County has been this way because Beaver County is owned. So that's what I'm saying. Who really runs Aliquippa? Who really runs Beaver County? If you were like an investigative journalist and someone was bringing you information, like let's just give a hypothetical here. Let's say that a police incident report gets leaked and a bunch of private information gets leaked from two citizens in the city. One of them at the time was a minor when the incident happened. And there's an anonymous email. Why isn't there any write-ups as an investigative journalist or anybody for that matter that writes in this town? It is 2022. It was 2018. We are so advanced. You're telling me that the police, all these law enforcement agencies, none of them know who wrote the email, the anonymous email that had all this personal information? How is nobody asking that question? I mean, wait a second. Isn't it true that this big investigative journalist is a huge, ex-hacker and, gave the FBI a bunch of classes at Quantico and, you can't find out the IP address on where, and nor can the police or the FBI. I mean, nobody can, because, this led to, in 6 months, a murder. Rachel Dotanda was murdered. And then just a little bit after that, Sheldon Jeter Jr. was framed. And these are the two people whose information was leaked. How do we not know where this email originated from? And nobody's asking this question. How is it not important? Is it not important that this leak happens? And then 6 months later, this woman is murdered? And it was her information that was leaked? And it was her, and it's an unsolved homicide right now, and you don't think that there could possibly be a connection? How come there's not a million articles written about this? How come nobody's talking about it? Oh, yeah, we just received this anonymous email. It wasn't like you just received an anonymous letter in the mail, with no return postage, and we're back in like, the Zodiac days. I mean, this isn't a hypothetical question. I'm curious, like what do the media outlets that reported this, and went and told everybody about the incident report and about what happened, do these people do they feel any type of way knowing that them going, public and putting this out there, that this woman then was suspended from her job and then she was ultimately murdered 6 months later? Do these people have any, like, hey, maybe we should find out who sent that anonymous email because, oh, the girl was murdered 6 months later in her driveway on Mother's Day when her mom was inside. Just, no. Why would we do something so, or do they know? Or do they know? Because that's part of the investigation. And, oh, we're not at liberty to say, well, oh, really? Because I can tell you this, I don't think it was Sheldon that emailed that out there, put his stuff out there too. I don't think it was Sheldon. I just think that it would be kind of important. And then as like a media figure, I would think that where's the pressure? Who's applying the pressure? So I was just wondering if you guys can help me out there. Because I think that I'm clearly missing something. Because I don't see any media, putting pressure on, anybody. Beaver is like the movie Pleasantville. Oh, maybe. Well, yeah, I mean, you think. They also put up all these cameras up on Kennedy Boulevard and Franklin Avenue, but so they really work. Yep, they work. Interesting. I mean, I went through every single. Actually, I just typed it in. I typed Savante Gilliam's name into the Beaver Canyon, where you can do like the search bar. Can you believe it? There's not any articles about his murder. I mean, unless there's been some written in the past, because I think I did this search a couple months ago. So, I mean, why isn't there like 100 articles about Savante Gilliam, who, like I said, Purple Heart winner, Purple Heart. You know what Purple Heart is? Was his family interviewed? Was his sister, anybody interviewed? football quarterback. I mean, where's the outrage? Somebody that fought for our country, fought for us. Purple Heart winner, just, you know, found murdered. No big deal. Keep it moving. Lana, the worst and most corrupt things are almost never touched or covered ever. Well, so I guess my question I guess I just have to keep going back to this, which would be, an investigative journalist does a write-up about deputy uniforms, but doesn't do a write-up about finding out where that anonymous email came from, who is considered, you know, a guru when it comes to hacking in computers and all that good stuff. Yeah, I don't think there was even a big article about him in the Beaver County Times. Yeah, no, I was just whoop. It's because why? I mean, if you're following these 911 calls and you're an investigative journalist and you have these sources and you have police sources, like nobody said, oh, hey, by the way, somebody was murdered last night. You know, you got people on the board that are sources. I just But god damn it, if you're going to lie in your timesheet and get that overtime, we're going to fucking write about that shit. I guess I just don't understand. Like, what was the end game? Well, we're going to go after these people's jobs. We're going to get them out of office, out of their positions, and then what? Hey, John Paul, you're telling me that Matt never told you about two guns and one of them wrapped in $4,000? One of them having the serial numbers wiped off after the Rachel Altondo murder? And that was found in Couch's office? You're telling me that your source never told you this? Was it not newsworthy? Because I think that it would, I mean, wow. In fact, let me just pull something up. Let me just pull this up. Because I think this is pretty interesting here. Let's see. Where is that? There it is. The infamous timeline. Go ahead. There we go. The infamous timeline. Here's my question. Let's see. You guys will appreciate this. Here we go. I think this is free to look at. This is a timeline of the events leading up to and since the May 13th, 2018 murder of Rachel Del Tondo of Aliquippa, as well as an ongoing Aliquippa city and police corruption investigations being conducted by law enforcement. So you're telling me that there's corruption, city and police corruption at the same time of Rachel Del Tondo's murder, right? But Sheldon Jeter Jr. did this to Rachel, even though Rachel said that she was in fear for her life because of the police, that they were following her. And then she's murdered right there on a driveway, basically getting out of a vehicle, which is like perfectly lines up with somebody following you. Information gathered as part of the Beaver Canyon's exclusive investigation reporting effort is based on public records, official comment, first-hand observations, interviews, and personal accounts. Any information obtained from confidential sources has been corroborated by at least 2 independent sources. Interesting. Well, let's see. Let's go to Del Tondo's short life began unraveling as her relationship with Frank Catroppa 36 fell apart. Okay. Oh, here we go. Making sure this is sharing for you guys. Oh, yeah, it is. Don't want to miss this. Oh, let's go like that. Okay. This is the February 6th car incident. Aliquippa Police Sergeant Kenneth Watkins and Officer Fran find Del Tondo and Jeter at the time 1:52 sitting in a steamed up parked car. So he adds up steamed up parked car. Or is that in the incident report? Is that there? I think that was there. But what about let's see. Police allege Del Tondo told them the teen was her former student who was upset and had called her because he needed to talk. Police say she tells them she doesn't want her fiancé, Catroppa, to know where she was because he would get angry. How come you didn't talk about the fact that Fran Conkle acted like he didn't even know who Rachel Del Tondo was, and that he's like, which Frank? I know a bunch of Franks. Okay? How come that's not talked about in this little timeline? And then, did you ever ask if they were in one car together, how did they end up getting in that car? Did she go and pick up Sheldon? How did they end up just in one vehicle? Just no file. Please file no incident report and no charges. Did you ever wonder how detailed that police incident report was if they didn't make one up that night? How was it that detailed all that time later that goes by? Just curious. Did you ask any of those questions? Okay. Here it is. A report is created about the incident, which occurred more than a year earlier. Police Chief Donald Couch later tells the media it was done in case someone got wind of it. Really? Because my sources say that Couch told Fran not to write it up. But footers on all the information indicate the reports were printed out. Here we go. This is coming from John Paul. The reports were actually printed out on May 2nd, 2017 at 3:11 a.m. So if they were printed out May 2nd, 2017 at 3:11 a.m., if you actually listen to Joe Percival's, statements, he says that the report was just sitting on his desk when Frank Catroppa happened to just waltz on in there, okay? And Couch said, yeah, give Frank the report. Give Frank the report. So May, June, July, August, September, October. because the leak didn't happen until the end of October. That'd be 6 months. So did Frank Catroppa get the report in May when it was printed and held onto it for 6 months? Because that would mean it would be just on Joe's desk for 6 months, just sitting there. Interesting. I mean, but this is so vague, right? Like, where's this info? October 26th. I mean, maybe it's in the actual articles that he's wrote, but an anonymous email containing the incident report and alleging a police cover-up goes out to a number of people, including Del Tondo's employer, county and state agencies, media outlets, including the Beaver Canyon, and her friends. Well, how would people have her friends' email addresses? I just want to know that. How would anybody have her friends' email addresses? Like, just some random... You think Sheldon has their email addresses? This is just fucking a mess. Oh, Jesus. The email includes sensitive personal information from state and federal databases available only to law enforcement and strictly forbidden to be released to unauthorized individuals. Well, then I have a question. Would there be like a paper trail of who accessed? You know, I have to like go in the computer system and, you know, type in probably like your, you know, ID and then your password or whatever. And so that it registers. I mean, who printed out at 3:11, who was working? Did you ever go get the time cards to see who was actually working at 3:11 a.m.? Who was working that shift? Who was even in that building to print that off? Did you ever look that up? I mean, because it's we're talking about time cards here. Oh, I mean, isn't that what the big commotion was about? Time cards, fudging timesheets and stuff. So who worked that night, that May 2nd, when it was printed off at 3:11 in the morning? Because can't you kind of like limit it down to like, okay, who printed this off type of thing? Do you not think that's important? Interesting. Because I know that Joe Percival didn't work that shift. He doesn't work that time. Again, this email includes sensitive personal information, blah, blah, blah. Among the information are social security numbers, birth dates, signature images, telephone numbers, and home addresses. Couch later claims to the press that confidential information about Del Tondo had been handed out in error, along with the incident report, to a member of the public when requested. Couch refuses to name the person. Aliquippa police reiterated that an investigation of the incident involving Del Tondo and Jeter revealed no wrongdoing and no charges were filed. So aren't you supposed to relay that information if you are the police to the charter school? That why would this charter school be suspending her with pay, but still suspending her? And then why wouldn't John Paul, I mean, this is your source, Rachel Del Tondo is your source, you wouldn't go to bat for her and maybe call up the Pennsylvania cyber people and be like, hey, yo, can you explain to me there's no investigation? There's no incident. I mean, there's nothing going on here. How are you suspending a teacher? You don't think that maybe you should write about that and maybe help out your source? I mean, maybe not. I don't know. Then the next day, a second anonymous email is sent to the Beaver Canyon alleging, so like, did the other media outlets get this or just you on the second one? Stating that the reason this report was not filed in February 2016 with the Aliquippa School District, the Children Youth Services, in a mandated report to the Department of Education was because it was an attempted cover-up. A cover-up. A cover-up of what? Who's covering who? why would Ken Watkins or Fran, I mean, they have zero pull. So, like, they didn't cover shit up. So who was trying to cover it up? Del Tondo was placed on administrative suspension with pay from her job pending an investigation by the Pennsylvania Department of Education. What investigation? An investigation into what? There is, like, you know, schools and your job, they do things based on, you know, hey, we're just cooperating in a police investigation. So during, you know, we're going to be cooperative. So during this time, you know, Miss Del Tondo would be suspended with pay until this is resolved. But there was no, you know, investigation into Rachel. So why would the cyber school be, you know, doing this? They're going to launch their own investigation. Well, did you ever go and find out, like, I mean, what ended up happening from their own investigation? Since they said that they're doing that, pending an investigation, can maybe you get Rachel's name cleared for her family? Now, this is something that's interesting because he's a scooper. Like, he wants the scoop. He gets this anonymous email the 26th and the 27th, and then waits until December 8th through 12th. The Beaver Canyon publishes an extensive investigative report revealing the leak of the sensitive Justice Network files by the Aliquippa Police Department. In reaction to the report, the Pennsylvania State Police Beaver Barracks in Brighton Township opens. So he's saying because of his amazing report, the PSP opens a criminal investigation into the leak by Aliquippa Police. Okay, again, 2017. Beaver County Emergency Services Director Eric Brewer confirms to the Beaver Canyon that his agency is cooperating with the criminal investigation. I don't know if you can read this because it's, yeah, I didn't think so. Do you have a word? What do you guys think about all this? This is just great. It's a great timeline here. This is just the cover page of the incident. You guys see here, it's how it says received at 1:52, dispatched at 1:52. I've always thought that was interesting. So, like, nobody called it in. They just, drove by there. That's what, But why does it say received? Dispatched. See, that's all. 1:52, 1:52, 1:52. And then it was cleared at 2:14. So 22 minutes? Starting in December, Del Tondo begins speaking with the Beaver Canyon. Now, I think that this has a lot to do with why he waited to probably write stuff until the 8th through the 12th. But Del Tondo begins at the beginning, starting in December. Del Tondo begins speaking with the Beaver Canyon as a confidential source. She says she is cooperating with the state police and the organized crime section of the state attorney general's office. She also tells the Beaver Canyon that she had begun receiving a series of death threats and she fears for her life. So this would all just be his account because unless he recorded conversations, but I think he wrote up top that you have to have like two independent, who's, Rachel's not here to say that she said this or didn't say this. According to a later affidavit filed by police as part of the search warrant for Jeter's home, it is also alleged that in December of 2017 that Del Tondo began a serious relationship with Bolden, 31, Jeter's half-brother. February. State police in Harrisburg conclude their administrative investigation into the Aliquippa Police Department. The department is given administrative sanctions, including a probation period. The criminal investigation into the Aliquippa Police remains open. Again, this is according to him. February 8th. The Beaver Canyon learns from multiple confidential sources that Aliquippa Mayor Dwan Walker is refusing to speak with state police as part of its investigation of the city of Aliquippa and its police department. I just wonder who these confidential sources are. February 12th through 16th. So this is all leading up before Rachel's death. The Pennsylvania statewide investigating grand jury hears testimony about alleged corruption in Beaver County, according to multiple confidential sources. So he's pumping out these articles. And, just saying his sources and stuff like that. March 2nd, the state police execute a search warrant at Aliquippa City Hall and seize documents and computers, including those from Walker and City Administrator Samuel Gill. 6 of the 8 pages of the search warrant are sealed and part of a grand jury investigation, according to then State Police Eric Hermick. That was, again, March 2nd. May 13th. Del Tondo was shot multiple times and killed in her parents' Aliquippa driveway at 10:45 p.m. Police say she'd been out for ice cream just prior to the shooting with minor daughter of City Police Sergeant Watkins and Tyree Jeter, 26, Jeter Jr.'s brother. That would be half-brother. May 14th. Aliquippa police execute a search warrant for Jeter's cell phone, call records, and geolocation. The Beaver Canyon publishes a report revealing that Del Tondo had been interviewed by state law enforcement and was a confidential journalistic source for the BeaverCanyon.com. On what day? May 14th, the day after her death. Women murdered in Aliquippa was a Beaver Canyon source who had assisted state police. Wow. Everything that I've read so far, I just have a question. What has been resolved? Like, what's happened? Like, what are the outcomes of this? The answer is nothing. He's writing an article talking about how one of his sources was murdered. But it has nothing to do with that at all. Nothing to do with, what she knew and why she was a source. But it has to do with her personal life. Well, wouldn't it be a personal decision to talk to anybody? And, just makes no sense. Now this is where we get conflicting stories, because right here Aliquippa Police Captain Robert Sealock sends a letter to Couch alleging that Watkins acted unprofessionally and could have contaminated the Del Tondo crime scene. Now, how come there's no talk about the fact that he talks about at 10:45 that that's when the murder occurred? Well, why would there be no talk about the fact that Police Sergeant Watkins was working until 11 that night? So why wasn't he on duty at 10:45 when that call went out at 10:48? Why wouldn't Officer Watkins be on duty? He was working till 11 p.m. that night. Do they just like, oh, that's right. They just skip out and they just write down on their timesheets but they're not really working. Sealock writes that Watkins was off duty and didn't listen to other officers telling him to stay out. Couch puts Watkins on paid administrative leave to preserve the integrity of the case. Interesting. Now, my source, and you guys have heard the tape, said that John Paul wanted Couch out. And that's why Matt got rid of Couch. Because wait for it. During a murder investigation, mind you, Aliquippa Police Chief seeks administrative leave for officer following Del Tondo murder. Aliquippa Police say Del Tondo's murder crime scene could have been contaminated. Then May 16th, Del Tondo's former fiancée, Catroppa, meets with members of the press, including the Beaver Canyon. So what did he say to you? Well, everything that is quoted right here is what he said to the camera crews, so I don't. May 17th, Aliquippa Police execute another search warrant at Jeter's home and remove bags of evidence. Now, he's the one that's... he's right here. This is the first time that you're seeing this, but makes no mention. So, Santacola is saying that his client had an off-again, on-again romantic relationship with Del Tondo and has nothing to do with Del Tondo's murder. May 18th, Lisa, Rachel's mom, speaks out for the first time since her daughter's murder in an exclusive interview with the Beaver Canyon. A mother's grief, slain Aliquippa teacher was scared of everyone. Scared of everyone? Has since been edited? Scared of everyone? I saw that it was edited January 2nd, 2022. That's interesting. Scared of everyone following threats. Interesting. State Police, May 21st. State Police indirectly confirm. I don't see one thing that mentions Lauren Watkins or Tyree Jeter, who was just with Rachel a minute before she was shot, mentioned anywhere after the fact that they went and got ice cream together. Not yet, anyway. State Police indirectly confirmed to the Beaver Canyon that an investigation into possible Aliquippa Police corruption remains ongoing, contradicting Beaver County District Attorney David Lozier's previous statements to other media outlets. But State Police indirectly confirmed with Beaver Canyon. Nope, here we go. City police execute a search warrant for Facebook data from Stephanie Watkins, wife of Police Sergeant Watkins and the mother of the girl who was with Del Tondo shortly before her death. Doesn't say her name, though. The media learns that police executed additional warrants for Stephanie Watkins' daughter, Jeter Jr. and Rachel Doltando, including the search of Facebook private messages, wall postings, friend listing, blah, blah, blah. No mention of Tyree Jeter. So they didn't ask for any of his, but they asked for Lauren stuff. But meanwhile, Sheldon was texting with Tyree. Just also bizarre that he doesn't want to mention his name at all. A judge orders further search warrants issued in this case will be sealed at the request of police. Before her death, Doltando also told the Beaver Canyon she had no intimate relationship with Jeter Jr. Jeter Jr.'s attorney, Santa Cola, claims they had a sexual relationship and calls her a frequent flyer. What? Well, we know how misinformed he is about people's sex lives, so that's all questionable all right there. Okay, let's see. Frequent flyer. I mean, wow. Doltando's mother says young man was obsessed. His attorney says it wasn't about love. They said Doltando calls for an outside agency to investigate her daughter's murder. May 29th. The Beaver Canyon reveals that multiple subpoenas were served for the state grand jury investigating corruption in Beaver County and specifically in Aliquippa. June 2nd. Doltando's mother, Lisa, says she's told by county detectives that it may be months before an arrest occurs in her daughter's death. June 6th. Aliquippa Council unanimously votes to put Police Chief Couch on paid administrative leave. Again, that's June 6th. The murder was May 13th. Okay? And per my source, that was what John Paul wanted. My source, and I think you guys have heard it, said that he wanted Couch out and got Matt to do it. Right here, Councilman Matthew Mott says that he has been cooperating with state investigators and says he has firsthand knowledge that Couch is a subject in a state police investigation. Well, this was double checked, right? These facts here. Assistant Police Chief Joe Percival is named acting chief and says he plans to rescue the city department from Doltando's murder investigation and seek help from the state police. Aliquippa City Councilman accuses city solicitor of misleading the news media. That's at the meeting. June 8th. Acting Aliquippa Police Chief Percival is arrested and charged by Beaver County detectives on charges of felony distribution of sexually explicit material to a minor, felony unlawful contact with a minor for sending obscene material, and misdemeanor corruption of minors. Percival is accused of sending an obscene text message to a minor, who sources say is the 17-year-old daughter of Aliquippa Sergeant Watkins, a.k.a. Lauren Watkins. The smartphone the messages were allegedly found on was confiscated from Watkins' daughter as part of the Doltando murder investigation. Percival leaves on vacation when this happens. Council is expected to take action on his official status June 15th. Exclusive. Acting Aliquippa chief says text message was an accident, calls his arrest by DA's office retaliation, which I believe. June 9th. Aliquippa Council names Robert Sealock its second acting chief of police. City of Aliquippa appoints its second acting police chief in less than a week. So Couch, Joe Percival, and now Sealock. June 12th. It's revealed that Aliquippa police and Beaver County detectives, at the direction of D.A. Lozier, searched the Beaver County jail cell of Wayne Cords, who is awaiting trial on unrelated charges. Cords had previously told the Beaver Canyon that he received a letter a few days after Del Tondo's death that allegedly contained details of how she died. County detectives also raided the office of Cords' defense attorney, Benyo, and he was placed under a gag order regarding the Del Tondo case. Both raids were conducted with sealed search warrants. So just randomly, this guy, Cords had previously told the Beaver Countyan that he received a letter a few days after Del Tondo's death that allegedly contained details of how she died. Which, by the way, all of that's all a bunch of bullshit. And, but we'll get into that later. Acting Aliquippa Police Chief Robert Sealock rescues the department from the Del Tondo murder investigation and planned to contact the state police. I guess I'm confused because there was multiple agencies there when Del Tondo was murdered and the call went out. My sources say that none of these agencies would touch the Del Tondo case. Hello, all. Just sad. This is just... Cords' defense attorney files a motion asking for sanctions against D.A. Lozier, claiming Cords' constitutional rights and state laws were violated in the jail cell search. How did Cords talk to the Beaver Countyan if he was in jail when he received this letter? How would he have talked to the Beaver Countyan? Just curious. Was he not in jail yet when he received it? Because I'm almost, certain he was in jail when he received that letter. June 16th. Governor Tom Wolf appoints Aliquippa Mayor Dwan Walker to his Advisory Commission on African American Affairs. BeaverCounty.com uncovers a discrepancy with a jailhouse letter purporting to be a first-hand account of Del Tondo's murder. The woman who mailed the letter to inmate Wayne Cords claims she got it from the witness while working at the Circle K in Aliquippa. A store assistant manager confirmed the woman didn't work there when she claimed to receive the letter. Jesus. CBS News 48 Hours begins filming locally for a future program about Del Tondo's murder on June 17th, 2018. It will be hosted by Aaron Moriarty with help from the BeaverCounty.com. Interesting. June 19th. Fired Aliquippa patrolman Anthony Quinn tells BeaverCounty.com he's been interviewed multiple times by the state police and the FBI as part of an ongoing probe into public corruption in the county. Quinn claims he lost his job in May of 2017 after it was discovered he was investigating possible ties between drug rings and city police and elected officials. There is no doubt in my mind there are ties between the Aliquippa city government and drug rings. Definitely, Quinn said. From when I worked there, I have seen the evidence. That's him. June 29th. A Beaver Canyon judge orders some search warrant information be released to the case of the Del Tondo murder letter. New court filings reveal county detectives seized defense documents pertaining to the inmate's unrelated criminal case during his jail cell raid. The information directly contradicts D.A. Lozier's statements that no such documents were taken. The sanctions filed against Lozier is pending. I mean, just wow. Just July 1st, BeaverCounty.com refuses a county detectives bureau request for unpublished information. The bureau also claims it's racked up more than 400 overtime hours investigating the murder. How many hours went to Savante Gilliam? Aliquippa acting police chief Selak suffers a stroke, which is recoverable. It's July 2nd. He returns to work having been ordered to quit smoking and reduce stress. In July, the department worked 106 overtime shifts. One officer worked 12 double shifts in 13 days. Selak took 5 doubles in a row. The department is down 6 officers to 12. The department is down 6 officers to 12 and with few applicants. July 9th. D.A. Lozier gives Wayne Cords, the jail inmate who received the Del Tondo murder letter, a plea deal, reducing multiple felony charges to misdemeanors. He'll be released the following week. Lozier tells a TV reporter the plea was in exchange for Cords agreeing to testify in future Del Tondo-related court proceedings. What? Saying Cords could become a key in the case. Cords' attorney says the agreement was reached so Lozier could avoid sanctions filed against him. Like, it's exactly why he clearly was, he's no key witness. He's no key anything. You guys in Beaver, led by the dopey dozier over there, just, blah. Jeez. There he just, talk about a good plan. July 10th. Suspended Aliquippa Assistant Police Chief Joe Percival is arrested for a second time by county detectives. Detectives file a felony charge of intercepting a communication, alleging Percival recorded a conversation with suspended Aliquippa Police Chief Couch on March 2nd. The day state police served a search warrant on city officials, or city offices rather. Percival is accused of secretly recording 39 minutes in which the two talk about the police department, its pension fund, the city mayor, and Aliquippa High School football. Percival is released on a $10,000 unsecured bond. July 11th. Del Tondo's mother, Lisa, expresses outrage that D.A. Lozier is calling the Del Tondo murder letter possible key evidence. She says county detectives have already told her it's fake. It absolutely was fake. BeaverCounty.com reports that inside DA office sources also say it's known to be fake and that the woman who allegedly sent it had been recorded saying she lied about it. But we're supposed to, and so that's why I have a question for the Beaver County. And then when you go on these little rants and you get in those troll chats and you say, that I talked to the DA and he said that this is just so untrue. Well, it ain't the first time that he'd be lying now, is it? It ain't the second or the third either. But I think it's hilarious. Mr. Hype Writer himself. I'd be pissed if I was Lisa, too. I'd let him know, too. Aliquippa's acting police chief, Sealock, issues emergency orders to officers, calling off street patrols and requiring officers to travel to calls-in groups. His actions are in reaction to newspaper and TV reports in which D.A. Lozier created the impression that an unnamed police officer may have killed Del Tondo. Wait, what? Several county police chiefs and officers tell BeaverCounty.com they plan to approach police unions about possibly demanding Lozier's resignation, saying he put their lives in danger with his reckless comments. Oh my God. August 27th, 2018. Former county inmate Wayne Cords admits he concocted the entire Del Tondo murder letter in order to scam the DA's office and obtain a good plea deal. He passes an FBI lie detector test indicating he's telling the truth. Who issued this lie detector test? He says he never even knew Del Tondo. What? He totally did this. And the DA just, illegal search, I mean, what is he doing? But remember what the DA said, that the deal happened because he agreed to testify. Because he's going to be a key in the Del Tondo case. What a lie. August 31st, Aliquippa rehires a police officer terminated from the department in 2016 after being arrested for the off-duty shooting of an Allegheny County jail guard. During an altercation, Joshua Gonzalez, 26, was found not guilty in a jury trial in March on charges of aggravated assault for the shooting. City Councilman Matt tells BeaverCounty.com he had concerns about bringing Gonzalez back, but ultimately felt he was left with little choice because of the lack of qualified candidates. Can you imagine reading that if you're Gonzalez in the paper? Be like, what the fuck? September 5th, 2018. Lisa Del Tondo visits Rachel's newly completed memorial in the cemetery for the first time. Lisa begins sorting through the belongings in her daughter's room. It's so sad. September 11th, state investigators seize a handgun belonging to Del Tondo's ex-fiancé, Frank Catroppa, as part of the PSP investigating grand jury criminal probe. Two sources with first-hand information say a company belonging to Catroppa was audited by the IRS in June, which is believed to be part of a larger investigation into his dealings. BeaverCounty.com confirms from two sources that Catroppa's brother, Jojo, and mother were subpoenaed to testify during secretive grand jury proceedings being held in Pittsburgh. Jojo is awaiting trial on 3 unrelated county cases for felony charges of narcotics distribution. His mom has been an employee of the Beaver Canyon, or the Beaver County office since early 2000, but abruptly retired as the BeaverCounty.com began asking questions about an alleged incident involving her sons. BeaverCounty.com reports from multiple sources that other witnesses subpoenaed to testify before the grand jury in recent weeks have included current and former Aliquippa police officers and deputies in the Beaver County Sheriff's Office. Whatever happened? Like, what's up? What's with these grand juries? Grand jury. October 19th. So you got May, June, July, August, September, now we're October. Desperate to get more information about her daughter's murder, Lisa Del Tondo buys tickets to see a self-proclaimed psychic medium who stars in TLC's reality television show Long Island Medium at Heinz Hall in Pittsburgh. She claims to speak to Rachel from beyond the grave during the performance, but does not identify her murderer. Assistant Aliquippa Police Chief Joe Percival gives an exclusive interview to BeaverCounty.com November 1st, detailing evidence he said he provided to District Attorney David Lozier in 2016 of alleged corruption in the city of Aliquippa and its police department. Percival also provided screenshots of text messages between the two. Percival alleged Lozier took no action in response to the evidence he provided, renewing claims that his recent arrests by Beaver County detectives were acts of retaliation for coming forward. It is an allegation District Attorney Lozier denies. November 6th, Rachel Del Tondo's mother, Lisa, calls 911 to have county detectives removed from her Aliquippa home. Detectives went to the Del Tondo house to inform Lisa that Aliquippa police had received complaints about her harassing family members of Rachel's former fiancé, Frank Catroppa. November 10th, Beaver Canyon reports from confidential sources that Lisa Del Tondo and her cousin Jackie are targets of a criminal investigation by the Aliquippa Police Department on allegations they harassed and assaulted Frank Catroppa's mother and brother. November 11th, 2018, the Del Tondo family discusses Rachel Del Tondo's murder days before the 6-month anniversary of her death. Her killer has still not been identified or arrested. November 14th, 2018, BeaverCounty.com publishes its exclusive interview with Dan Moreland, who said he was outside smoking across the street when Rachel Del Tondo was murdered. Moreland says he heard the shots and rushed to see what the commotion was, but saw nothing. Moreland believes the murderer must have been on foot and fled between houses. Coincidentally, Moreland is the cousin of a man who is believed to be a prime suspect in Rachel's murder, Sheldon Jeter Jr. Jeter has denied through his attorney any involvement in Rachel's death. The man says Rachel Del Tondo's murder vanished after shots were fired. He didn't call 911 though until how many minutes later? Just about Percival stuff. December 5th, District Attorney David Lozier sends a letter to Acting Aliquippa Police Chief Rob Seelock notifying him that the District Attorney's Office will refuse to prosecute any case filed by Officer Kenneth Watkins. Watkins had refused to testify as a witness for the prosecution at Percival's preliminary hearing, pleading his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination and saying he feared Beaver County detectives were plotting to retaliate against him. So the DA writes a letter to the police chief and saying that notifying him that the district attorney's office will refuse to prosecute any case filed by Officer Kenneth Watkins. Like, what? Because he pled the Fifth at Joe Percival's preliminary hearing. A lot of problems in Beaver, man. He writes, DA Lozier blacklists Aliquippa officer Kenneth Watkins, vows not to prosecute any case he files against a defendant. Okay. December 17th, 2018. A preliminary hearing scheduled for Lisa and Jackie is continued until March. A bail hearing is held with Lisa and Jackie both placed on $10,000 unsecured bond, which includes conditions they have no contact with the Catroppa family due to them getting rowdy at the polls, at the election polls. January 3rd, so right after the new year, BeaverCounty.com reports Aliquippa Police Sergeant Watkins accepted a voluntary demotion to patrolman after County DA Lozier informed the department that he would not prosecute any cases filed by Watkins. Suspended Police Chief Couch and Assistant Police Chief Percival continue to be paid. Aliquippa solicitor, several city officers are gonna, they're allegedly subpoenaed to testify before the grand jury. BeaverCounty.com reports an attorney for the suspended Aliquippa Assistant Police Chief motion for a charge dismissal hearing ahead of his scheduled trial. He notified the judge he intended to call DA Lozier as a witness and asked to have the Beaver County District Attorney's Office disqualified from prosecuting the case. March 6, 2019, an Aliquippa council meeting devolves into shouting and table pounding as city manager Gill and Mayor Walker waived their grand jury subpoenas. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Matt Motz was asked to resign following an altercation earlier that week at the Democratic petition signing at the American Italian Club. Motz and his father, a city school board member, and the Walken brothers were somehow involved. Police have not filed any charges. Fight breaks out at Democratic petition. Wow. Aliquippa Council chaos meeting gets heated as mayor and manager flash grand jury subpoenas. I am sorry, but wow. This will just put you to sleep. All he's doing is causing chaos everywhere he goes, writing, just it's chaos, man. Chaos everywhere. What was this part? Oh, April 25th. In anticipation of the 1-year anniversary of Deltondo's murder, DA Lozier released a statement saying the investigation was still ongoing and asking for patience and understanding. He added a note to the media saying he would not comment further. BeaverCounty.com on May 10th reports a court motion filed by Percival's attorney included an internal email from the state attorney general's office that revealed a criminal investigation into alleged illegal gambling. There's that big word again, illegal gambling, as well as political and police corruption in Aliquippa. DA Lozier's office removed itself from Percival's case earlier in the year after an ethics advisory opinion by the Pennsylvania Bar Association determined he had a conflict because Percival intended to call him as a witness. The state attorney general's office subsequently took over prosecution of the cases filed and refiled the charges against him that were previously dismissed. May 11th. CB announces that its season finale of 48 Hours will air on May 18th. The episode, done in conjunction with Beaver Countyans John Paul, will examine Deltondo's murder. After a year spent investigating Rachel Del Tondo's murder, veteran CBS News correspondent Aaron Moriarty said one thing is clear to her: citizens of Aliquippa and Beaver County need to start expecting more from their elected officials. May 15th, despite controversies dogging Aliquippa and its mayor, Dwan Walker, Governor Tom Wolf continued to show him support after the two appeared together in the state capitol rotunda as part of a infrastructure legislation rally. May 18th, CBS News airs 1 hour. 5 hours after CBS national telecast featured him as a key figure in the Rachel Del Tondo homicide, Sheldon Jeter Jr. was found unconscious, laying on the side of a road in Aliquippa. Aliquippa police say Jeter was revived by medics with Narcan. Jeter's attorney, Mike Santacola, insisted tests revealed no drugs were found in the system, and that is fact. Was there investigation into, the incident? May 28th. A county district judge for the second time dismisses felony charges filed against Aliquippa suspended Assistant Police Chief Joe Percival, alleging he texted obscene materials to a minor, Lauren Watkins. June 11th, Aliquippa Mayor Dwan Walker invited to a meeting at the White House on community revitalization. July 26th, the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office drops the felony wiretap case brought by District Attorney David Lozier's detectives against Percival. First Assistant District Attorney Jennifer Popovich, who had been assigned as lead prosecutor on the Del Tondo case, submits her resignation after 17 years with the District Attorney's office. Wonder why. September 4th, 2019. Criminal charges were dismissed against Lisa Del Tondo and Jackie, the mother and cousin of murder victim Rachel Del Tondo, who had been accused of harassing the family of Rachel's ex-fiancé. September 7th, CBS re-airs its 48 hours investigative report on the Rachel broadcast. Oh my gosh. Aliquippa Assistant Police Chief, in his 21st month of paid suspension and legal wrangling, learned last week the state had dropped its final criminal charge against him. He was 21 month so far of paid leave. November 5th, 2019. Beaver County District Attorney David Lozier wins re-election for another 4 term. What is wrong with Beaver County? Everything. March 26th, 2020. Aliquippa Acting Police Chief Robert Selak is in intensive care and suffering a medical emergency while on duty. March 30th. Officer Kenneth Watkins files a federal lawsuit alleging Mayor Dwan Walker and District Attorney David Lozier unlawfully retaliated against him for exercising his constitutional rights during a December 2018 court hearing for acting Aliquippa Police Chief Joe Percival. Everyone's just suing everybody in Beaver. Joe Percival, April 7th, who is still on administrative suspension, is suing the city of Aliquippa. Beaver County detectives Andrew Gall and Robert County District Attorney David Lozier, Aliquippa Mayor Dwan Walker, and suspended Aliquippa Police Chief Donald Couch, all of whom Percival claims in his lawsuit they share a quote-unquote close friendship. Percival claims he was the target for speaking up about alleged police department wrongdoing, which amounted to a violation of the State Whistleblower Act, which is true. Acting Police Chief Selak dies April 11th, 2020. It's sad. Aliquippa Police Chief Donald Couch files a federal lawsuit against the city, alleging a nearly 2-year-long suspension from the department has amounted to a violation of his constitutional rights. May 4th, nearly 2 years after Aliquippa City Council placed its police chief and assistant police chief on administrative leave, officials have now decided to proceed with disciplinary hearings for the two men, according to a city memo obtained by the Beaver Canyon. May 13th. It has been 2 years since elementary school teacher Rachel Altondo was gunned down in the driveway of her parents' Aliquippa home on Mother's Day. Her killer remains free with no arrests being made in the case. Beaver County District Attorney David Lozier tells BeaverCounty.com the case remains active. This is an ongoing investigation, and we were very active in coordinating the forensic results until COVID-19 came along. Lozier said, there are many agencies working together on this case. Lies. And that stopped for now. It's very frustrating. Lozier continued, I remain confident that we will make an arrest in the case. I wish I could offer the community and the family a speedy result, but the reality of this kind of case is that it takes time to do it right. May 15th. Pennsylvania State Police arrest Sheldon Jeter Jr. May 13th, Lozier's quoted. Very frustrating. He's frustrated. I remain confident that we will make an arrest in this case. Well, 2 days later, May 15th, 2020, Pennsylvania State Police arrest Sheldon Jeter Jr. for the shooting death of 30-year-old Tyreek Pugh of Aliquippa. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 articles there. June 8th, the wife of an Aliquippa police officer sends a letter warning officials that gross mismanagement of city's department is endangering the safety of both its officers and the general public. BeaverCounty.com obtained a copy of a letter that was hand-delivered to Aliquippa council members by Susan Roberts, wife of Detective Sergeant Steve Roberts, warning that officers have been working as many as 4 shifts back-to-back, a 32-hour workday, due to extreme staffing shortages. Officer's wife says mismanagement of police department is putting the public in danger. So these officers that investigated the Tyreek Pugh case, July 4th, Aliquippa Police Department becomes one of the first in the county to be affected by COVID-19. Officials struggle to find ways to maintain public safety while navigating pandemic mitigation measures. August 1st, state officials appoint a retired PSP lieutenant to act as an advisor to the Aliquippa Police Department. A spotlight is again cast on the dysfunction of the Aliquippa Police Department after an emergency medical technician, EMT, revealed her personal belongings were stolen from an ambulance while assisting a patient in the city, and that the city's police department never responded to the incident or returned any of her calls. Oh my God, get it together. What? Lord. Well, John Paul, you managed to wipe out the crowd. Then let's see. So that was August 4th, 2020. Then February 19th, 2021. Aliquippa Detective Sergeant Stephen Roberts cites Mayor Dewan Walker for failing his duties at a stop sign. Oh my God. Walker eventually entered a plea deal and paid a fine. The public's hope that this incident was a sign of reforms within the department would prove to be short-lived. What? February 2021, CBS 48 Hours and Beaver Canyon begin working on an updated primetime broadcast about the still unsolved murder of Rachel Tondo. Former Aliquippa police chief Donald Couch settles his federal lawsuit with the city. Couch received financial compensation, which included $51,000 for pain and suffering and $34,000 for attorney fees, and a full pension. Looks like Donald Couch. Kudos to Donald Couch. And he was like on paid leave, I believe, right? I don't know. April 2021, despite ongoing controversies, the city of Aliquippa is named a 2021 recipient of the Governor's Award for Local Government Excellence. What? Department of Community and Economic Development. Wait, what? The governor gives the award. Wow. Wow. I mean, I just don't have words for this. June 23rd, 2021. So it doesn't... Okay. A jury finds Sheldon Jeter Jr. guilty of first-degree murder in the shooting death of Tyreek Pugh. Following the verdict, defense attorneys asked a county judge to overturn the verdict after alleging one of the jurors was Rachel Del Tondo's next-door neighbor. Judge Kim Tussle denies the motion, finding no evidence of juror misconduct and ample evidence of Jeter's guilt. Jeter is subsequently sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 articles. July 25th, 2021. Joseph Jojo Catroppa, age 42, dies of natural causes at his mother's home in Aliquippa. October 2021, BeaverCanyon.com reports that former Aliquippa detective Captain Ryan Pudick has graduated from law school and opened a practice in the county after legally changing his last name to Gailey. There he is. There's that little corruptor. Allegedly. December 11th, 2021. 48 Hours airs its updated broadcast on the murder of Rachel Del Tondo. Among the exclusive episode are that a secret grand jury investigation Del Tondo's murder has heard testimony about Jeter. What? I don't even... Oh, wow. Among exclusive... Oh, what the heck? And that the county prosecutors attempted to get Jeter to plead to Del Tondo's murder as part of any plea deal in the Pugh case. District Attorney David Lozier announces that Frank Catroppa is not a suspect or a person of interest in Rachel's death. Jeter, through his attorneys, continues to deny any involvement with Rachel Del Tondo or Tyreek Pugh. Yeah. All right. That'll round us out. You guys have a great night. Great night.